This is the Vic Feazell Show podcast, sponsored by Moroso Wood-Fired Pizzeria, Pinewood Coffee Roasters, and the law offices of Vic Feazell.
It's Monday the 18th, Vic. You know what that means?
It's Monday the 18th. Good news, we have an announcement. We've been sitting on this for, years?
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, we've known it was going to come out like for the last 6 months. They've been going next month. Don't talk about it yet. Oh, we got to get some more release forms signed. Oh, we got to go get this one pickup shot. Can't talk about it yet. 5 years ago, December 2014 was when I got the first phone call from Taki Odom, a journalist out of Australia, saying, Vic, let's talk about this Henry Lucas thing.
Which is funny because I've been with you for 14 years, Vic. And every year we'll get a nut who calls, says, we're going to do this huge story on Henry Lee Lucas, Vic, and we want you to be a part of it. Then you never hear from him again.
You never hear from him, and I'd spend hours on the phone educating him, and then maybe get some little two-bit article in some publication that nobody's ever going to see.
Right.
So when Taki Odom called me, I was already tired of this crap. I said, I'm not interested. I've had too many people call me about this. I just don't even want to talk about it. He said, wait a minute. I told him, I said, go do your research. Learn about this case, and then let's talk about it.
Right.
He says, well, I have done my research. And so I asked him 2 or 3 questions.
Right.
And he could answer them. Stuff that I thought was kind of obscure.
Things only the killer would know.
Yeah. Things only somebody that really researched this would know.
Yeah.
And Taki impressed me, man. Taki Odom, look this guy up. He's got an incredible resume, and now he's working with Robert Kenner Films.
Which is awesome.
Awesome, man. Robbie Kenner. He's like a multiple Emmy winner. I think I said one time he had won 5 Emmys, and he corrected me and said, no, it was like 8 or something like that.
Wow.
I don't know. But he's won a bunch of them.
Super cool dude.
Cool dude, man.
And mostly known for Food Inc. That
Food Inc.
was when they really threw him on the map.
I saw Food Inc. before I ever heard the name Robert Kenner. When Taki Odom told me he was working with Robert Kenner, I went, you
Who
mean
dat?
Food Inc., Robert Kenner? Because I had seen Food Inc.
Yeah.
Food Inc. is what got me to stop eating fast food. It scared the hell out of me. Yeah. That stuff is killing people. You know, I'm always complaining about the corporate takeover of America and how individuals don't have rights anymore. It's only the big insurance companies and big pharma that have rights, the big corporations. Our Supreme Court now has declared them as people with more rights than people have.
It's crazy.
It's like, oh, come on, folks. You know, if Mr. Trump wants to do something like a good on the Supreme Court, put some people on there that are going to start recognizing human beings as people again. Yeah, you know. But anyway, Taki said, I'm working on this with Robert Kenner, and so I researched Robert Kenner, and he has quite a background.
Yeah, he really does.
5 or 8 or 10 Emmy Awards already. Matter of fact, some big organization out in Hollywood is doing a big appreciation dinner and honoring him this December. And it just so happens December 6th.
Oh!
If you want to go, Google it. You can buy tickets. I think they still have a few tickets available. They're probably pretty expensive. But fly to Hollywood and watch Robert get his award and appreciate it. I wish I could go out there for this. I really do. I love Robert Kenner. I love Taki. And we've all been working on this a really, really long time. I signed a non-disclosure agreement. Oh, I have been just itching to talk about this.
Yes, you have.
Jonathan has had to tape my mouth shut a couple times. I've even said a few things on this podcast that he had to go back later and edit out because it was in violation.
You can't say that.
I can't say that. I mentioned once, I think it was when Austin Meek, I was on his radio show here in Waco, and he asked me, he had heard about Netflix being in town because everybody in Waco knew they were here. Heck, they followed me around Waco for like a week.
Yeah.
They took me to the courthouse. We filmed inside the courthouse. It was a cold, rainy day. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the courthouse in Waco. If you're not, Google a picture of it, the front of it, because there are some steep stairs, probably 40 or 50 of them, going up to these doors that are now locked.
Yeah.
You can't use those doors anymore since the invention of metal detectors and 9/11 happened. Now we all had to stand in line and go through the same door and go through the metal detector and take our belts off, take our phones out, take our glasses off, take our watches off. I want to brag on those deputies that work the courthouse entry. Man, those guys do a good job. They keep people from getting in with weapons. They have seen it all. They're very patient. If you go through there, be nice to these guys. Don't try to take a crack pipe in with you. Don't take your switchblade. I wouldn't even take a pair of fingernail clippers, or they might get taken away from you. And if you have drugs, leave them at home. Don't even put them in your car, because sometimes the Waco police will bring their drug dogs and walk around the parking lots of the courthouse. And then you get a bad surprise when you come back out to your car. So don't do that, and be nice to the guys at the entryway. They made me in the rain, in the freezing rain, walk up those steps. I bet you 50 damn times carrying a briefcase until I finally just said, "I've had enough, guys. I'm cold and I got to go to the bathroom. I'm a skinny old man. I'm always cold and always got to go to the bathroom." And I said, "I bet you that this won't even make the documentary." Well, I have not seen the final product yet. It premieres December 6th, 5 parts worldwide, 50 languages. You can binge watch this thing.
Yep.
And I tell you what, if there's not a shot of me walking up and down those stairs, I'm going to go find Robert Kenner, and I'm going to make him buy me a $50 glass of wine.
There you go.
I am.
There you go. That's funny.
I finally said, "I've had enough, guys. You probably aren't even going to use this." And I am freezing.
Sad.
Plus, there was some jerk somewhere with a view of the parking lot across the street from the courthouse in a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of his license plate. Someday I'm going to figure out who this is. I just hadn't had the time yet. But every time we would start talking, whoever it was would push the button on their key fob and make their horn go off on that pickup truck.
Really?
We weren't anywhere near it. Is this somebody being an asshole?
Really?
Can you say asshole on a podcast?
Sure, you can say
Because
whatever you
whoever belonged to that truck was an asshole. And whoever you are, asshole, I will figure out who you are as soon as I get the time. I don't know what I'm going to do about it yet. Probably just expose your sorry ass on this podcast for being such a jerk. Because I had to walk up those steps probably an extra 20 times because of your damn horn.
Oh, that's
and I'm
messed
going
up.
to figure out who you are.
Messed
You owe me a good glass of wine. Yes, you do. So I am so excited, Jonathan. It is
you should
finally
be.
here.
And we just saw the trailer this morning. They finally sent it over to us.
We saw the trailer
It's
this
awesome.
morning.
There's a sweet little
It's sweet.
footage of you in there. A couple killer quotes by in there.
I don't think I come into it until toward the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
And I'm in it. This investigator that used to work for me, he's in it. A lot of the people here in Waco are in it. Whitney Fanning was interviewed. I don't know if Whitney made the final cut. Lynn Woolley was interviewed. I don't know if Lynn made the final cut. Gary Richardson, my lawyer and my good friend, he was interviewed. I understand he did make the final cut.
All right.
Not very long, but he did make it, because they're having to boil down 150
We're trying to think of how
hours.
many hours.
They probably had 40 hours of just me.
Because they filmed you in our Austin office, our Waco office, your home, and they flew you to California. Was it once or twice?
Twice.
Twice to do
Austin
filming with you.
office, Austin home, Waco office, Waco home, Waco courthouse, and then flew me to California twice.
Yeah.
Put me up in a cool little hotel called The Farmer's Daughter.
That's weird.
Isn't that weird?
I don't know that I'd name my hotel Farmer's Daughter.
I know, me neither, because I've heard too many jokes about that. But it was a nice little hotel. Great food, real kind of hipster place, and over.
They have vinyl players in every room, vinyl records, and a community space. You can go get them.
Not quite, but I bet if you asked one, room service would bring it up. It was that kind of place. Good food, good wine. Robbie Kenner even paid for me to have a couple really good glasses of wine at the
There you
Farmer's
go.
Daughter.
Through your little kindness.
Yeah, he did. And then on the last day of principal filming, when I was there to do some what they call pickup lines,
Yeah.
transition lines, things like that, they put me in a green room.
Yeah.
The whole thing is painted green, and just me sitting there in this
Doing all that sweet
little
green screen
chair.
footage.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
They probably won't like me giving away their secrets, but they would then bring me around and show me what they just filmed, and it looked like I was sitting in my living room in Waco.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'm sitting in a little metal chair in this totally green room. They're asking me questions, and when it's played back on the monitor, I'm sitting in my living room, and I'm going, how'd you do that?
Yeah,
It
man.
reminded me of the first time I saw a fax machine. How'd they do that? Okay, they put a piece of paper in this machine in Los Angeles, and it lands over here in Waco. Did the whole paper come through that line? I remember I was so
Can you
confused.
send food?
Yeah, send me a sandwich. They'll be able to do that someday.
Hey.
So they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just really, really neat. The whole experience.
And it's so amazing, Vic, to finally see this story come around.
It is.
Because
It's been decades in the making.
it's been decades in the making.
Yeah.
and
5 years of filming, but 40 years in the making. This all started in 1978 when Hound Dog Conway decided that crazy looking new guy in town might have killed Kate Rich.
Right. Right.
And that's what started in 78, 79, and through there.
But what I find really cool about this, though, Vic, is what your role has been in the making of this documentary. Because when I came to work for you 14 years ago, you had a pool house that was loaded with all these files that you kept just in case something like this ever happened.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 years, Vic, to archive the documents you had. And you had videotapes, these confessions, audio tapes, the documents, everything we reference in our podcast. You were smart enough to save so that when Netflix came knocking on the door, you were able to say, yeah, guys, I have everything you need to make an entire documentary.
Right. They talk about all the archival material that they painstakingly assembled.
Yeah, they just came to our office and picked it
They
up.
came and spent a couple days copying what we had. Yeah. But I got to give them credit, man. I mean, Taki and those guys know how to dig. They're the ones who found all the other cases that have been solved by DNA comparison. Last time I talked with them, it was over 30. They found the old Senate tapes when the Senate committee was dragging old Colonel Jim Adams over the coals about what he had done with the domestic spy program. And they also located all the family members of these murder victims who had thought that Lucas had killed their loved ones. And so they did a lot of interviews with family members. I'm so excited, and I'm looking forward to it. And I just congratulate these guys on the work they did.
A lot
Now,
of it.
Brad Shelladay had some of it, but most of his was duplicative of what I had because Brad and I had worked together. I was paying Brad to be my investigator during that time, and he and Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Right.
he and Gunnar were writing a book about Lucas called Things Only the Killer Knew, or Only the Killer Knows, or something like that. And I was helping with their expenses and writing them checks along the way so that they could travel around. Actually, Brad went with me to Missouri when we found Phyllis Wilcox, thinking we had discovered Frida Powell.
Yeah.
Live and in the flesh, Frida Powell.
Jeez.
And she was good at convincing us.
The old fake.
I think there may be some in this Netflix documentary about Phyllis Wilcox.
About that whole saga.
Because when Brad and I went to interview Phyllis and her husband, Kurt, and Phyllis was claiming that she was Frida and that Kurt was the Red Ball freight truck driver that picked her up.
Yeah.
And we videotaped that. And I still had that videotape, and I turned that over to Taki Odom and to Robert Kenner and to the rest of the crew to use whatever they needed to off that. And they thought it was a good storyline, so we'll see if they use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, but I'm just so happy, Vic, they had the mind thought to save that stuff. You know, because I imagine, well, what I will say is a lot of stuff you have is the last of it, or it's the only one in existence.
The last
Period.
or the only.
Period. You have stuff that nobody has.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a podcast so wonderful, is the stuff that we get to play for our listeners is it's one of a kind.
And when you were having to go through that old pool house, is a little house built underneath the swimming pool, actually, because the pool was on a hill. And I had a flood.
It's true.
Yeah, the roof of that thing had flooded, and all those documents were starting to get musty.
Yeah, man.
I remember when you were going through those old files and pull them apart, and you'd clean them off to take them in and
Yeah, man.
and scan
Those
them.
plastic gloves and a mask work.
Plastic gloves and a mask, and you were always looking for snakes. We were afraid that there could be
Well,
snakes.
that's because you told
and
that's because
rats.
you told me there was a snake. You told me there was a python out there one time.
I
and it's
think it
true.
was a boa constrictor. Yeah, it was like 11 feet long.
See?
Yeah,
See how you are?
it could lay across my neighbor's garage door and block the whole door. He came driving into his driveway one night, and it was laying up against his door.
That's crazy.
And so he went into the house and came out with a shovel, and by the time he got back out, it was gone. So it either slivered down into that green belt or it slivered down into that pool house, but we never saw it, but we were always on the lookout.
Yeah, you're
for
just
it.
like, beware of the snake, John. I'm like, there's no snake.
Beware
And they
of
told
the
me that
snake.
story. I'm like, oh, God, there's a snake.
Yeah, I talked to my
So
neighbor. He saw it.
It's crazy.
Beware of the snake. And my neighbor was a real straight guy, so I don't think he was smoking anything or doing anything. I think he really saw it.
Man, the snakes.
The snakes. No, I think he really saw it.
So this is so cool, Vic, and I'm so happy it came out because the story needs to be told. And what we've been talking about on the podcast obviously parallels this story. And we started doing all these podcast episodes about Lucas because we knew that this was coming.
We knew it was coming. We thought it was going to be before now.
Yeah.
We started this podcast on September 17th because that's a significant date. That was the day I was arrested.
It is.
September 17th, 1986. So we started this podcast September 17th, 2019.
Cool.
So we got 3 significant September 17th dates. Actually, 4. No, 3. September 16th, I think that was when Kate Rich's house burned down or something like that. September 17th of 86 is when I was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
September 17th of 88 is when I resigned from the DA's office. And September of 2019 is when we started this podcast. Wow.
Beginnings and endings and beginnings.
It's been a long, long, long story. And that's why I love that quote from Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
Yes.
And I always thought this was going to be a long arc because this story is big. It's hard for most people to comprehend because there's so many facts, so much involved. And other people have taken a hit at it. 60 Minutes tried. Geraldo Rivera tried.
Yeah.
One of those NBC, CBS shows tried. But they were limited in time. It's a 1-hour thing, and you got to be sitting in front of your TV to watch it. Since streaming came along, it has changed viewing habits. Right. You can you can binge watch something now.
And this is, what is it? You said 5 episodes, 1 hour each?
I think so.
So there you go.
Yeah,
That's
somewhere
awesome.
around there. Yeah.
Binge it.
Binge it. Yeah. And the neat thing about Netflix is that it doesn't go away.
Right.
It will be there. You can go search it 10 years from now. It'll be there.
Yeah.
And we'll be continuing to get updated trailers, updated information that we'll be posting on our website,
Which is there right now.
vicfeazell.com.
Yep. The first trailer is up.
The first trailer is up. We've got 2 trailers so far. Plus, I've got a movie poster in the mail. They told me they're sending a suitable for framing movie poster
I like it.
that I can frame and put up next to my Rhinos, the movie poster.
Yeah, man, that's
the
right behind
movie
you.
that I made, and maybe even Rage in the Cage.
Oh,
and Blood, Sweat, and Teeth.
Blood, sweat, and
And
teeth.
Monster Hunter, starring David Carradine. I
Yeah,
did that movie.
You did?
I produced that one, and I
Super
loved
cool.
David Carradine. I really did. He was a fun guy to hang out with. Two guys I met in Hollywood when I was doing that I really enjoyed being with. David Carradine,
Yeah.
and when I was with him, I swear he never did anything crazy. Never. He didn't drink. He didn't do drugs. He wasn't doing any crazy sex stuff. Nothing. He was just good conversation, walking on the beach, good food, restaurants, and his wife Marina was just fabulous. And I was in that movie with both of them, Monster Hunter.
Wait, didn't she play your wife?
She played my wife,
the
and I
movie?
played a henpecked husband who couldn't get a word in. She and I still keep up with each other. Whenever I'm in L.A., we try to go to dinner together.
That's cool.
Last time I was there, she took me to this cool little tiny Italian place. I can't remember the name of it. It was on some side road off of in West Hollywood there, off of Santa Monica, right off of Santa Monica. And we ran into Dabney Coleman.
I don't know who that is.
oh,
Gotta be
man.
honest, I don't know who that is.
Major Dad, and plus he was the bad boss in Working 9 to 5. Oh, been in a lot of great movies. But she's friends with him, and she introduced me to him, and he sat with us for a while. And had a
that's
drink
awesome.
with us, and it was fun. Yeah, he's won all kinds of awards and stuff.
But if I saw him, I'd know him.
Oh, you'd know him.
It's one of those deals.
Yeah, you'd know him from 9 to 5, and you'd know him from Major Dad and all kinds of TV roles. He was that iconic authoritarian figure, you know. Sometimes he'd play a cop or a CIA agent or an army guy, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah,
That's cool,
it was
man.
kind of neat.
David Carradine.
And the other guy was Marty Krofft, of Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yeah,
I loved Marty Krofft, man.
that's awesome.
Marty Krofft knew the 12 steps of AA backwards and forwards because he had gone through them. And he was the first person to teach them to me before I ever went off to the pavilion. And I learned the AA, not because I was an alcoholic. I wasn't. But I just really wanted the experience of going through that. And that's where I met my mentors, my gurus, Gilles Desjardins and Lillian Desjardins, his wife. And Lillian still works down in Austin. She's a fabulous
super
person.
great people.
Oh, yeah, you know
Jill,
Lillian.
Jill unfortunately is passed
Jill
on, but,
passed.
like the sweetest people ever.
I cried like a baby when he died. I was so not expecting that. I thought he would live forever.
Yeah.
But Lillian is the kind of person, she can just walk in the room and it raises the consciousness of the room just by her being there.
Yeah.
Her presence is so wonderful. She just turned 80.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I just love her. So I'm really excited. Everybody, mark your calendar. December 6th, Netflix. And now I can talk about it.
You can
I've got
talk
all
about
kinds
it.
of neat photos I've got of Rob Kenner and his crew at my house or at our office that I can start posting now. That before they said, you know, Vic, if you say a word about this, and this is what I said to Austin Meek. I said, man, I'll have to climb over that wall Mr. Trump's building and hide out in Mexico.
Oh, my
Their
God.
lawyers will come after me. But now I can talk about it. I'm so happy. So listen to it. Watch it. December 6th, Netflix, The Confession Killer.
I love it.
Hey, and while we're talking, we can use this for a cleanup episode.
Sure.
Because people are writing me and telling me about mistakes I make. Now, this isn't a mistake. I did this on purpose. I said that Liz Flatt, the daughter of the Lemons,
Yes.
Deborah Sue Williams'
Up in
sister, up in Lubbock. And I said she lived in Lubbock, and I got an email saying, she doesn't live in Lubbock. I liked your podcast. You said, well, you know, sometimes people don't want other people knowing where they live, especially if they're pissing off law enforcement. So,
Really?
yeah, she moved from Lubbock, but I'm not going to say where she's living right now. I made another mistake, too. I said that Raylene Rice's case was the second Lake Waco murder tried, and it was tried in Bryan College Station. I was wrong about that. It was Kenneth Franks. It was the murder of Kenneth
Right.
Franks that we tried in there.
That's
We
right.
never prosecuted David Spence on the murder of Raylene.
Why not?
Because we already had
Yeah, you
two
already had some in there.
convictions, 2 death penalties, and Raylene's parents had asked that if we could leave them out of it to do it. They had suffered enough already.
I get
Because
you.
their little girl did not know any of the people involved in this.
Right.
She had just come down with her friend from Hillsboro, Jill Montgomery, to pick up Jill's last check from Fort Fisher.
God, that's just sad.
Yeah. And I was eating at Sergio's on Austin Avenue in Waco. They're a fresh fish with a Mexican flair.
Cool.
Yeah, he has a food truck, but he also has a brick and mortar restaurant that's open on the weekends at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was eating there, and this little lady walks up to me and says, "You don't remember me, do you?" Well, I get that all the time, you know.
Yeah, you do, Vic. You really do. Remember me?
But there was something very familiar about her, and I said, "You got to give me a hint." I said, "There's been a lot of water under the bridge for both of us," and she says, "I was a witness in the Lake Waco murder." And I said, "Lou Booker." Oh my goodness, Lou Booker. Lou had run the gift shop and basically managed the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And Jill Montgomery had worked for Lou.
Right.
And she had come to pick up her last paycheck. And little Raylene just drove down with her. And that's when Jill says, "Oh, I got a good friend here, Kenneth Franks. Let's call him and maybe meet him out at the lake." And they were just sitting at a picnic table at the lake when David Spence, Gilbert, and Anthony Melendez show up. And then the rest is just history. Read Careless Whispers, one of the best books ever written by Carlton Stowers, a wonderful man, Carlton Stowers. Read that book. I think we have it on our website, don't we?
We do.
We do. We have a direct link so you can buy it off of Amazon. We also have a direct link to Lynn Woolley's book, Last Great Days of Radio.
Super cool book.
Super cool book, and he's got a great chapter about me in it called The Man They Could Not Hang. And if you are hearing this, listen to the process, because you could win a free book. Not only
Autographed.
not only the book, but we won't even charge for mailing it to you. I'll pay for the postage. All you got to do is go listen to our podcast and leave us a written review. I don't mean punch the little stars at the top. That's too easy. Write something.
Yeah.
Punch the keyboard. Write something. Write us a review. And then send an email to promo@withvic.com.
With your name and mailing address.
Yeah, please send me your name. And now we got some last time saying, "All right, I did a review. Send me my book." All right, what's your name, please? What address should I send this to? So tell me you left a review. Tell me what the email address was that you left the review under, so I'll know you left the review.
Yep.
And if how many of these do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 of these. I got 5 of these right now, and Lynn has already signed them. I'm signing them. Leave us a review. Send the email promo@withvic.com. Say I left the review. If you're one of the first 5,
Yep.
we will email you. Mail you, snail mail, one of these books, The Last Great Days of Radio. And unlike Careless Whispers, this is a brand new book.
Yeah.
It hadn't been opened.
fresh
It
off
hadn't
the
been
press.
cracked. It hadn't been read. We're having to send out used books for Careless Whispers because I wanted to get you the hardback.
Yeah.
And they don't make the hardbacks anymore.
They do not, man.
They don't. We have to order them used. And sometimes we get used books, and I see I've already signed them to somebody else.
Let's bring that up. Yeah, the last round we'd ordered off of Amazon. One of them came, and you had already signed it.
I'd already signed it back
ago.
in 86 or 87. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So either he read it and decided, I'm getting rid of this book, don't care who signed it, or maybe he died and his family sold it.
Dumped him off to
or
half-price
it went to
books.
Goodwill and they sold it or whatever. But yeah, we get them back. Sometimes it's already got, me and Carlton already signed it for somebody else. But if that's true, I'll sign it again. And then it's a double collector's item. It's got some history to it.
There you go.
But on the ones with Lynn Woolley, The Last Great Days of Radio, and I'll put a little sticky note or a little something dog-earing the chapter about the man they could not hang, because it's the best little thumbnail sketch of what happened to me, and it's what Netflix is going to be talking about. I really hope they don't cut Lynn Woolley, that Netflix doesn't, because I know they spent all day with him down at the radio station.
Yeah, down at the radio station, man.
Interviewing him. They even took some live calls, and they got him to ask, do you think Henry Lucas killed all those people? And he took some live calls, and people were still interested in that.
Wow.
So if they don't use it, let's get Lynn back and talk to him about that. Because when Lynn was here before, we weren't allowed to talk to him about it.
We weren't allowed to talk about it.
We did talk a little bit, but you had to edit it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if we saved it or not.
Yeah, we've still got it, but it'd be cool to have him back.
It'd be cool to
kind
have
of
him
refresh
again.
and kind of roundtable it again. Well, it's so cool, Vic, because we've been waiting for this to happen. You've been waiting for this to happen, like you said, since they threw the handcuffs on you. You've been waiting for this day, for this story to go big again.
Exactly. You know what's going on here, and I'll still be proven right. That's what I said.
And a lot of people that we've talked to have said that this documentary couldn't have come out till now because finally they're getting conclusions. These cases are finally being solved. So this is the bookmarked end of this chapter. And of course, you and I'd love to see a spinoff series where you and I go and solve these murders. Whee!
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love to see a spinoff. Hey, Netflix, do a season 2. Do a season 2 and put me and Jonathan on the road getting these police departments to reopen these cases. And I tell you what, if Phil Ryan decides to retire from his sheriffdom, being sheriff out in Decatur, I would love to run around with Phil Ryan.
That'd be pretty cool.
Because he's the guy out of all this that I respect the most. Now, there's some that I just hold in contempt. I'm sorry. Bob Prince, Jim Boutwell, Ron Border. Oh, my God. We're going to do 10 episodes on Ron Border when we get down to U.S. v. Feazell. You talk about a snake.
I love your threats.
Yeah. It's not a threat. It's a promise. And like I said all along, if you don't like what we say about you, then you should have behaved better.
Yeah, because the Lord knows they knew better.
Yeah, and Ron Border was the worst. I mean, he was just the worst. Not only did he violate our confidence, but then he turns around and lies to me, lies to his own boss, Jim Adams, and then lies to the grand jury. And we've got all the documents to prove it. I mean, Ken Anderson has already been disbarred. He's already been in trouble, been put on probation or something for what he did while he was judge. I'm telling you, Ron Border and Jan Patterson should both be looked at over this because they committed criminal offenses in what they did with that federal grand jury.
I'll be very interested, Vic, if this Netflix, if they do add that part to the story. Because what we know is the documentary focuses, of course, on Henry Lee Lucas, known as a confession killer, but it also goes into your story. And neither of us have seen it. They won't give us any. They won't let us see it.
Unfortunately, my last phone call with Robert Kenner, this was going to be 8 episodes to begin with.
Yeah.
But they kept wanting to make it more, impactful.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
It was
pack
6,
it down.
and now it's
then
5.
6, now it's 5. So my understanding is that they've left out Jan Patterson and Ron Border. So it's going to be our job to tell the world what Ron Border did and what Jan Patterson did, because they committed perjury, they committed witness tampering, they lied to a grand jury, and we've got the documents and the video to prove it.
Yep.
And they were in bed with Channel 8 with Charles Duncan,
the gentleman who ran the series on
the
you.
series against me from get-go, from the very beginning. And they played his episodes to the grand jury that indicted me. We're going to get into this in detail later.
Crazy.
And one of the grand jurors, and that's the only information the grand jury that indicted me saw, just the Charles Duncan episodes.
The first grand jury would not indict you.
They wouldn't indict. There were 4 grand juries.
Oh, my God.
4. And first wouldn't indict, second wouldn't indict, third wouldn't indict, fourth they just show the Duncan series from Channel 8. And one grand juror raises his hand and says, I just want to know. Oh, and Ron Border is the one who sponsored it and played it for the grand jury.
Of course.
Says, I want to know why this Dallas reporter was so interested in a DA down in Waco.
Yeah, really.
And Jan Patterson interrupts before Ron Border can say a word and says, I don't think this witness knows anything about that. Let's move on. Well, she knew exactly.
Yeah.
She knew exactly. She had been in on the very first meeting called the Big Brass Meeting in Georgetown the night that Jack Harwell and I, along
got
with
Lucas away.
Yeah, we got Lucas away from him. Him and Dan Weinberg wrestled Lucas away from him with a writ from Judge George Allen up here in Waco.
Right, right.
They had a big meeting that night, and Jim Adams from DPS was there. Jan Patterson, the U.S. attorney who stood up and says, I don't think this witness knows anything about that. Ron Border was there because he's the one who snitched us off to Colonel Jim Adams and to Bobby Prince when he found out that we were looking into Lucas.
No, he was on loan from where?
He was on loan from DPS.
Okay.
He was an intelligence officer with DPS. He worked right under Jim Adams, and he was on loan to our office, the Waco DA's office, helping us with a couple high-profile cases.
Right, right.
And that's when Ned Butler, I love
Accidentally
Ned,
told
but
him.
he made the mistake of letting Ron Border know.
Yeah.
And I got to say, once he told me about it, I wasn't too upset because Ron Border had been around our office talking about how much he hated Jim Adams.
Seemed like a
and
nice
if he
dude.
could ever come to work for us, he wanted to. And now he did not like DPS since that FBI guy had taken over.
Yeah.
You know? So we kind of trusted Ron. But as soon as we told Ron that we were looking off into Lucas, he went straight to Bobby Prince and then to Jim Adams. And then they started investigating me.
Just
And it all sprang from that April the 18th Big Brass meeting in Georgetown. Clemmy Schroeder was there.
Yeah.
She saw a lot of it. She's testified to it in numerous jurisdictions. And we have her written testimony telling about that Big Brass meeting.
Crazy.
And so Jan Patterson knew. But I don't think Netflix is going to get off into that. We'll get off into that.
Yeah.
Because it's something that needs to be known. What happened to me was very similar to what has happened to other people who were wrongfully convicted.
Right.
Yeah, the When They See Us group, the West Memphis Three.
Yeah.
Just law enforcement just gone rabid and mad with a preconceived storyline, and they will lie and cheat
Oh, yeah.
and intimidate witnesses just to get what they want. Now, this past week, did you see the paper? There have been 2 more exonerations out of Williamson County.
County, I did, Vic.
I mean,
Only because you sent me the article.
and I was at a seminar at Baylor Law School last week,
Yeah.
a criminal defense lawyer seminar. And one of the speakers played this video from Ken Anderson. He was talking about the Michael Morton Act. Michael Morton is the one that Ken Anderson convicted who was innocent, and they found out later he was innocent.
Right.
So the legislature passed the Michael Morton Act saying that the DAs have to turn this exculpatory information over. You got to open the file,
Yeah.
you know. And so we had 2 more exonerations out of Williamson County. And then I'm looking at that thing at Baylor Law School, and there's Ken Anderson on video going, I didn't do anything wrong. I just did what everybody else does. I gave him this. And he's just lying through his damn teeth, man. Just lying through his teeth. And what he did to Michael Morton, he did to these other 2 guys. And I'd like to. It's posted on my Facebook feed right now. So if you want to go to my Facebook, Vic Feazell, attorney, Facebook, and see what we're saying about those 2 exonerations. But it's the same sort of thing. And those are the same lawyers, him and Ed Walsh, that were in on Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
So
crazy.
it's Lucas, Morton, and now these 2 new ones. And they tried to do the same thing to me.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid Netflix, in the interest of keeping it short and keeping the audience real interested, is going to skip over a lot of the detail. But that's what this podcast is for, people.
Yeah.
And I think once Netflix starts airing on December 6th, this podcast is going to go crazy with hits. That's what I hope for. I'm hoping people care about the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Oh, there's somebody else I want to talk about.
Who's that?
Brian Burns.
Oh, yeah.
He's got
Laid
nothing to
back
do
in
with
Louisville
all of
speed.
this. He's got nothing to do with it, except he's a friend of mine. He's a supporter of mine from way back when he was a little skinny 19-year-old guy. But he's a Texas singer-songwriter.
And if you listen to the end of our podcast, that's him singing.
That's him singing. And I wanted to give a shout out to Brian because he did those for me, 15 years ago, 10 years ago?
Before I was working with you.
Yeah. So 15 years ago, he recorded those for me. And he did a really good job. He used to play at a little bar down in Hutto. Now, he lives up in the Dallas area, but whenever he'd come around Austin or Waco, I'd drive to go see him.
That's cool.
He writes a lot of good songs about Texas history.
Mm-hmm.
He's got songs about the Texas Revolution, about the Alamo, about Sam Houston, Davy Crockett, about Texas landmarks. It's just fun. His stuff is so educational that
it's educational.
It's cool. Not only entertaining; it's educational.
Yeah.
At some of the schools around the state, the grade schools and the junior highs will pay him to come and perform at assemblies.
Oh, that's
just
cool.
For what the kids can learn from his songs about
cool.
Texas history.
That's
so
cool.
Thank you, Brian Burns. The Vic Feazell Show loves Brian Burns. Google Brian Burns, Google his music, and buy some of it.
Yeah.
And while you're buying music, my friend MC Yogi. MC Yogi, he actually gave us the rights to one of his songs that we've played bits of it through our podcast.
He did. He was very kind.
He was. I mean, we were trying to buy rights to other songs and couldn't even hear back from people.
Yeah, they wouldn't respond.
MC Yogi wrote back, said, "Oh man, we love Vic. Just use it however you want, and just be respectful. And we love Vic, and no charge."
Yeah.
So thank you, MC Yogi. Thank you, Amanda. And one song we could not get the rights to because he recorded it with another major artist
who was getting a little greedy on what they wanted.
Well, they wanted a lot of money, more than what we can afford.
Yeah.
But Google MC Yogi. Listen to Heaven is Here. To me, the entire Jesus message is embedded in that song, Heaven is Here. And because that's what Jesus always said. He said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is here. Once men worshiped God in that temple up on that mountain, but the day is coming and is here now when you will worship God in spirit and in truth, in your heart. And so that's what he sings about. Heaven is here. So listen to that one. Big news episode. Let me see if I got any more cleanup I need to do.
We have a long time.
Oh, I couldn't think. Remember we were going on about, when they found Kate Rich's Medicare card.
Yeah.
And it was plastic coated.
Right.
And what does that mean? There's a word for that. And
laminated?
Laminated. That's it. We couldn't think of laminated. So I got laminated written down there so we could tell laminated. And also and Brian Burns does the commercials for the law firm.
Right.
1-877 with Vic. Drive laid back and lower your speed. 1-877 with Vic. Now I wrote the line drive laid back, lower your speed. Now I wrote those, but Brian put it to music, man. And so we enjoy advertising the law firm because that's what pays the bills.
It's true.
I was in court just last week. Oh, Friday. Great day in court Friday.
Yeah.
I think we kicked butt Friday. Did a good job. Enjoyed it. Came back, celebrated, took the rest of the day off. But I've got good lawyers that work for me, and all of our staff have been trained in the Vic Feazell method of law practice. I have my own method. I believe in always moving the ball forward. And everybody here, James Catazzaro, Aubrey Robinson,
oh, yeah.
all of our staff, and even our referral lawyers that we send some of the cases to that we don't personally handle. I sit down with them, and they know how I would handle a case, and they keep me informed every step of the way.
True.
And I come to the depositions. If it has to go to trial, I'll be at the trial. So we've all been trained in what I call the Vic Feazell method, which is something I have just developed along the way, which is an aggressive cross, a compelling closing, and studying the facts, massaging the facts, and believing the client. I always believe my client's story, and I'm more concerned with what my client says than I am about what the other side says. I'm not worried about what they're saying. We got a story to tell, and we're going to tell it And that's the way we do it. And I got to give Gary Richardson credit for some of that because he was my mentor.
Yeah.
And I learned so much from Gary. So, call the law offices of Vic Feazell so that we can keep this valuable ministry on the air, letting you folks know about what the truth is about Henry Lee Lucas and all of this, so that we can help people like this detective from San Antonio that called us last week.
Yeah.
I think his name was Araveus. Yeah, Detective Araveus, San Antonio Sheriff's Department. Nice guy. I really enjoyed talking with him. But he had been assigned a bunch of cold cases, and on 3 of them, Henry's name kept coming up.
Crazy.
We were able to send him information to show that positively Henry couldn't have done at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
And now we've got our database on the website where it can be searched. Tell us about that, Jonathan.
Yeah, so it's about to be launched up there, and it's a database where you can search by city, by county, by the date. And basically all you'll do is roll in, type in a date, and it'll tell you exactly what happened on that date. If there was a murder, where Henry was, where Ottis Toole was. You know, it's finally one place that people can go to figure out, you know, for themselves information on each of these cases. So if you're a family member of one of the victims, you can type in that name, and it'll pull up that file and what we have based on the Lucas report that you, Jim Maddox, and a bunch of folks put together back in the day.
And when will that be up?
Well, just as soon as we launch it. So maybe by the time this podcast airs.
Okay. So use it, people. It's there for you to use. We're going to be launching another website soon.
We will.
Can we tell about it?
Yeah. So we're actually the proud, happy owners of HenryLeeLucas.com as well.
Yeah, we own .com, .net, .org, .anything you
those
can
other
possibly
little
think
weird,
of. Yeah,
weird things.
we got it.
So we're going to be putting the big issue with Henry Lucas that you and I have found, Vic, is that there's so much false information out there. So we're going to put the actual real story of Henry Lee Lucas on that site, so you can go there, and we'll probably put the database on there as well for folks to search and law enforcement to search. But it's another place you can go where you can actually get the facts about Henry Lucas, and we'll be working with, you know, other authors and things of that nature to put actual real factual information on that site for Lucas.
Good. But yeah, we're getting speaking engagements lined up.
Yeah, you and I are flying to Southern California in
We
January.
are. Jonathan and I are going out to Laguna Hills, where we will be speaking to a group of about 250 people in Laguna Hills, California, about this.
Yeah,
So that'll be fun.
that'd be cool, dude.
They're taking us to dinner. We're getting to stay at the hotel in Laguna Hills.
Sweet.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It'll be a fun time. I'm
It'd be
excited.
fun. And if the Netflix people want us to drive up to L.A., we can extend our trip and drive on up and help
It'd be
them.
cool to go see.
However, I
It'd be
wish
fun
I
to go
could
see Robert. I'd like to see Robert again.
I'd love to see Robbie.
See
I
what
wish
they're
I
up
could
to.
be there on December 6th for his award ceremony, but I can't be there for that.
He did
Sorry.
extend the invitation. He's like, John, if you're ever in L.A., swing on by the studio.
I know. Yeah. And the neat thing you'll see at his studio that you don't see hardly anywhere else,
What's that?
he's got an orange tree.
Yeah,
He told me, he
that's
said,
awesome.
that's all anybody ever wants to look at is this orange tree.
Well, I mean, how often do you see an orange tree?
I know. Full
Never.
of oranges.
Never.
Never. At least not around here.
That's cool, though.
And I want to give a shout out to Today's Family Dental right here in Waco, Texas, 715 North 64th Street. They're my dentists. I love them. And the reason I'm giving them a shout out, and Dr. Williams and Dr. Quigley are over there. They're both great doctors. And the reason I'm giving them a shout out is because they're all fans of our podcast. They have our coasters. They have our stickers.
That's awesome.
Whenever I go in there, they want to talk to me about what happened last. And last time I was in there, and I go up to the window to pay, and I'm glad I'm not a public official or I couldn't have accepted this. You know,
Yeah.
there's some good things about not being in politics. I thought it was my birthday or something. They all walked up to the counter where I was supposed to pay, and there were like 5 or 6 of them there and said, nope, you're not paying today.
That's cool.
We love your podcast too
Free
much.
cleaning, baby.
Free
Woo.
cleaning.
That's awesome.
So, and my friend J.R. Vicka, he's a lawyer here in town. I'm always trying to get him to get in politics because I think he would be good at it. He's got a great smile. I knew his dad. His dad was the victim of a terrible murder here.
Oh,
His dad was a sheriff's deputy. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's a section of highway near Waco that's named for his dad. And JR is a great guy, and his sister works there. So, a shout out to Today's Family Dental in Waco, Texas. Love you guys, and thank you for listening, and continue doing it. I hope we won't disappoint you.
Jeez. I'm going to let you down.
Keep me smiling, because Jonathan and I have a lot of public appearances coming up. We still want to get something going right here in Waco. I've talked to Robert Kenner about this, and I've talked to the Netflix ladies about it. They've assigned me 2 handlers.
You have 2 handlers.
I have 2 handlers from Netflix to make
get
sure
out of control.
I don't say anything stupid. But I've been talking to my 2 handlers about doing something in Waco. Why can't we rent the Hippodrome and show 1 or 2 of these episodes, or at least show tidbits of the episodes, and me and you do a podcast?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'd be interested from our fan base to hear if they would like any live engagements. You know, if we were to go rent out a place in Austin, or whether it be a place here or Dallas, you know, would anybody come to go see a live podcast?
Would you come? Would you pay $10? Would you pay $5? Would you pay $20? You know, we'll hand out some coasters.
Yeah,
we'll hand out a T-shirt.
We've been putting together, you know, a multimedia package that we can play when we go to these engagements too. That has a lot of this video of these confessions and whatnot. So it'd be pretty cool. I mean, I'd pay $10 to see it.
And you know whose name has been in the news a lot lately? I mean, it's in the news all the time anyway, but it's been in there a lot more lately.
Who's that?
George Bush.
Oh,
George W. Bush. Because of the Rodney Reed thing. You know, we did a complete episode on Rodney Reed, Stop the Execution of Rodney Reed.
And they did?
Well, they finally did. A couple of days ago. It wasn't Greg Abbott, though.
Right.
Damn Greg Abbott. Come on, dude. No, he passed the buck to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and thank goodness they had the huevos to do something about it. They gave us, 6 months stay, something like that.
Yeah.
Long enough to test the belt. And that's what I think needs to be done. Test the belt. If it comes back with Mr. Fennell's DNA on it, he needs to be indicted for that murder, and you let Rodney Reed go.
Yep.
If it comes back with Rodney Reed's DNA on it, well, he's already got the death penalty. They're probably going to stick the electric needle in his arm.
The electric needle?
Or, well, however they do it these days. It used to be an electric chair. Now it's just a needle.
That's funny.
I was doing a capital murder voir dire one time for the prosecution, and I asked this lady, well, ma'am, how do you feel about the death sentence as punishment for a crime if the facts justify it and the law calls for it?
Right.
She goes, well, I don't know. And so I flipped over to my side of the notebook to start getting rid of people that disagreed with the death penalty. Yeah. That's the way we did it back then. I believed in the death penalty back then. I don't anymore because there's just been too many mistakes, and I don't want to be involved in one of those mistakes either as a prosecutor or as a citizen.
Yeah.
But she said, well, I don't know. And so I flipped over to the questions to get her disqualified. And then she says, I liked the electric chair better than the needle.
Gosh.
I think the electric chair would keep people from killing. It was a deterrent. I liked it better when I could see the lights dim.
And good to go.
She was tough. She ended up being one of our alternates because
Oh,
the
is that right?
defense was pretty much out of strikes by then, and I was down to maybe my last strike. And she ended up being one of our alternates on that case. But that was in Bryan College Station.
A little morbid, but whatever.
Whoa, they are law and order in Bryan College Station. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, ma'am. If he spit on the sidewalk, do you think he should get the death penalty? Well, I sure do. It was a tough jurisdiction.
Wow.
I like to brag about winning that case, but you know, the playing field was kind of slanted in my favor trying it down in Bryan College Station because I don't know about now, but back then they were law enforcement, you know, law enforcement oriented.
Well, hey.
Yeah. What got me off on that?
I don't even know.
Don't even know. So anyway, send us an email to promo@withvic.com and give us your name and address and tell us you left a review. I want to see a written review.
This is your homework.
Yeah, this is your homework. and give us your name, so because the book envelope's got to have a name on it, and give us your address, and we'll mail it to you, along with some stickers and coasters and maybe even a pin.
Yeah. And if you don't win, go ahead to our store page where you can get some stickers and coasters.
Yeah. And we also have Last Great Days of Radio on our link page where
Yes.
you can just go buy it direct from Amazon. Yeah. And I don't know what they charge for it. If they charge $15, that means Lynn will probably make about $1. That's just the way they do it.
Yeah,
I have a book on Amazon, Rhino, Sharks, and Unicorns. I've sold a bunch of them.
and it's a cool book, Vic. I remember when you first gave it to me, and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But yeah, man, it was awesome. Killer book about young attorneys and a guru.
Yeah, I'm re-editing it because I think the first 2 chapters are too long. I think if I'll turn the first 2 chapters into 4 chapters, it'll be an easier read. Because people like to feel like they're making progress in a book, you know, and if one chapter drags on too long, you tend to put it down and not get back to it. You think, oh, I made a step. So I'm going to go back and change that. I've already got the second book pretty much written, and the third book is outlined.
Yeah.
So once we get into this year, then I'm gonna get those out pretty quick. They'll be out by the end of 2020.
And another super cool book you're working on, Vic, is the book of this story.
Yes.
You are actually writing a book on
I'm
Lucas
writing a book.
and U.S. v. Feazell and your Guinness Award-winning libel slander verdict.
Yeah. The working title is called Vindicated.
Love it. Love
I
it.
got that title from you,
For that wine?
from the wine. You bought me a bottle of wine one time called Vindicated, and it's good little Cabernet. It really is. And it's got a picture of this
It was like middle shelf.
this angel with a sword, and I'm thinking, Vindicated. That's a good title.
It is a good title, man.
And then I saw this bottle called 19 Crimes. And when I was indicted on 18 counts.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, 18, 19, that's pretty close. So I put 19 Crimes and Vindicated bottles together and took a picture of them. I said, that's my life story.
There it is. Oh, my Lord. Well, I can't
19
wait for
Crimes,
that book.
Vindicated, and a bunch of wine. What?
So I said I can't wait for that book. So that's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
You got a
I'm
lot of
having
work on your
trouble
plate,
with
man.
it. I'm having trouble. I was supposed to be finished with it by now.
Yeah.
When I talked with Taki and Robbie 3 years ago, I was supposed to be finished with it by the time Netflix aired. But
Yeah.
it's been so hard to write
Yeah.
because I know all the facts, but dredging up all that old emotional stuff, you know, because they put me through hell, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
You know, for years, the rumor campaign, the false negative stuff that was put out about me all the time, the handcuffs, the trial, filing a motion to seize my home. They wanted to throw my wife and little boy out onto the street and take my home, claiming that I had gotten that home with unlawful proceeds, which is total bullshit. The only money I ever made was my salary, man, and all they had to do is look at my lifestyle and they could tell.
Yeah.
You know, like I've said before, I didn't have any expensive habits. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't cheating on my wife. I didn't even play golf, which is kind of an expensive habit.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I had no passport. I was just a regular old working guy. Had never been in trouble, you know. And when they came after me, it's like Maddox said, Vic, this is retaliatory. But I hope you haven't done anything wrong or they're going to find it.
Yeah.
And I said, Jim, if I've done anything wrong, man, I have forgotten.
Thank
what
God
it
for Jim
is.
Maddox, you know.
Oh, God, I loved him.
And he actually went on record, and we've got the video of it. It's in one of the promo videos on your website where he says that the investigation into Vic Feazell was of a retaliatory nature.
He said that several times. And then we got Jim Adams,
Yeah, saying you're
head
a
of
crook.
DPS, saying, well, I resent what the Attorney General is saying about this being retaliatory.
Yeah, you should
DPS
stay out of it.
does not conduct retaliatory investigations. That's the way he talked.
is the way he talks.
He's like a Batman villain, you know? That's the way he comes
Kind of looks
across.
like the Penguin if they gave him like that long cigarette,
Yeah. Icky, you know?
the monocle.
Yeah. Yeah, really. That's how he was, and that's how he was when he talked to me and when he was on the news. And And he was, well, Attorney General Maddox, me, a DPS does not conduct retaliatory investigation. Well, that's bullshit. They do.
They do.
They
and
do.
they did.
And they did. And not only DPS, but back when he was with the FBI.
Oh, God.
I mean, I think Netflix is going to show some video, some old black and white video of some Senate hearings when he was being called on the carpet for what he did when he was head of the domestic spy program.
Yeah, man.
That domestic spy program, they tapped Martin Luther King's phones. They tapped my phones illegally.
Yeah, they did.
Illegally.
Multiple times.
Recorded me illegally. Recorded him illegally. They sent prostitutes in on him.
Yeah.
That never happened to me.
Come on, man, where's my hookers?
I was so straight and narrow back then. I wouldn't have known if a prostitute was coming on to me. I wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have gotten it. And plus, I just didn't have time. I was busy all the time.
No, got time
I remember after I won the re-election and the newspaper won election the first time. About 3 months in, the newspaper came to me and said, well, how's it going, Vic? We want to do a story on your first 90 days. I said, I demand a recount. This job's too hard. And it was hard. I didn't have time to get in any trouble. Speaking of former DAs, this next year we're going to have Abel Reyna.
Yep.
He's going to be our guest to talk about the Ed Graff case.
Yes.
And Michael Jarrett is going to come with him. It'd be good to have both of those guys in the same room talking about Ed Graff because all three of us tried that SOB.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that series because that's a crazy one. And that's a real psychological case too, Vic, because this is part of how you got Ed Graff was through, he was a significant OCD guy, right?
Oh, man,
and
was
he was to a T pattern, and you saw the breaks in his pattern right before the murders, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my background at MHMR helped me with that.
But,
I had worked at MHMR before I was a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a social worker to begin with, then director of the outreach and aftercare program that worked with mental patients coming home from the state hospital. And then I was director of the drug abuse treatment program. Did that for nearly 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I took it from the last rated program in the state up to the top rated program in the state.
That's awesome.
So I learned a lot there that really helped me after I became a lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it helped me when I prosecuted Ed Graff because I was able to see those little glitches in his daily routine.
Yeah.
Things like he would always put the meat out that was so it could defrost.
Yeah.
That they were going to have that night. Every day, Claire would know what they were having for dinner because he would choose and he would put it in the sink to thaw out, except that day.
Wow.
Every month, he would get the kids' allergy medicine, refilled.
Mm-hmm.
He would do it like a week before so that they wouldn't run out.
Right.
Very organized guy, except this month.
Yeah.
He let them get down to their last pill. Not like Ed. We had like 10 or 20 things like that just didn't add up, where he broke routine.
Yeah.
So it was quite a psychological case.
So we have that one in what I would say is in production because we have a number of large cases that you worked on that are in production.
In production,
which is where we're digging up the documents and getting them outlined to go. Another one, of course, being the Lake Waco triple murders, which a lot of people have asked about.
And when I finish Vindicated, and then I finish the rest of Rhino, Sharks, and Unicorns, then I'm going to write a book on Ed Graff.
Crazy case.
Yeah.
Well, cool, Vic. I can't think of anything else. Got anything else in your notes?
I can't either. I'm looking at my notes here.
I'm just super, super happy that this Netflix thing is finally airing, man. You can finally talk about it.
Yeah, and this last week, maybe a couple days ago, Utah just reopened a 30-something-year-old case that had been attributed to Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me about that, Vic.
I don't have the report in front of me. We can do something on that later, but I just saw it come across the news that the state of Utah has decided this is not a closed case, and they moved it over to cold cases because some information they got that it cast doubt on Lucas's confession. Who knows? They might have gotten it off of our database. They might have gotten it from this podcast. You never know. Or they might have heard that Netflix was coming out and didn't want to have egg on their face.
True.
And so I'm hoping all these jurisdictions reopen their Lucas cases.
If you have any questions about the validity of Lucas's claims, come to us.
Come to us.
promowithvic.com or
Yeah.
search our database. And when you search the database, if you have further questions about a case, email us because we may have other documents to help.
Yeah. And Phil Ryan, you got to be getting close to retirement, man. Send me an email, promo@withvic.com. Me, you, and Jonathan, let's go out and look at these things. We could sell this to Netflix for a second season. Taki Odom, are you listening? Oh, God, you'd be great at this. I don't know if you're going to be working with Robbie on his next project, but if you're not, let's do this.
Be fun.
Let's keep these plates spinning and let's get some of these cases solved.
Yeah, man.
Not just reopened, but let's get them solved.
Yeah, man, these families deserve it, Vic.
Yeah, they do. And that's what Utah said. The family, even if they don't know who killed their daughter, at least they should know that it wasn't Henry Lucas. Same with Cheryl Shear. You know, I sent a letter to the sheriff, the former sheriff, the captain, and all those people up in Missouri who were digging up that farm looking for Cheryl Shear's body 40 years after the fact. And the sheriff was saying, ooh, I still think it might have been Henry Lucas. And I wrote and said, it wasn't Henry, you know. And there is DNA. He said, unfortunately, we think there's DNA on this bank bag, but we don't have anything to compare it to. Yeah, you do. Compare it to Henry Lucas so you can at least exclude Lucas. Because as long as they think it's Lucas, they're not looking. There's a cognitive bias that it is Lucas, so they're not looking. Take it out of the closed cases. Take it out of the closed, put it into the cold, so that, and run the DNA on the bank bag.
Yeah, yes.
You know, they say, well, we knew, our database said that Henry Lucas was in this area at that time. Remember you and I did some research to figure out how their database had Henry there?
Yeah.
It's because one time Henry said he was there.
Right.
Oh, my God. Yeah, right. Yeah, like that means something. No, Henry wasn't there. Henry was in Florida, I think.
Florida, or maybe he was still in the Northeast or something like that.
Somewhere like that. We pinned it down, though. Guys, check out our database. We've got the whole Lucas report in a searchable format. Look for it. We love you. Keep listening to us. Tune in to Netflix and subscribe to our podcast. Leave a review. If you're one of the first 5 and you send me that email to Promo with Vic, I'll send you a brand new copy of The Last Great Days of Radio, signed by Lynn Woolley and me.
Cool.
And I'll dog-ear the page that is about the man they could not hang. Thank you for listening to the Vic Feazell Show podcast. We're a primary source podcast. We don't just read about it and then talk about it. We talk about people we've known, things we've done. We're a primary source podcast. Leave a review. Sign up for our email list. And go visit our store. We have a page on www.vicfeazell.com.
This is Texas singer-songwriter Brian Burns, and I've been to Waco, Hico, Hondo, Navasota, Winsboro, Jacksboro, Hillsboro, Santa Rosa, Austin, Houston, Galveston, Texarkana, Frisco, Buffalo, Conroe, Corsicana, and that's just in the last week. Keep a safe pace, folks. Relax and drive laid back, because Texas is a laid-back place. And if you've been in a car wreck, call Vic Feazell at 877-WITH-VIC.
With principal offices in Waco and Austin, Texas.